call this meeting to order. First thing on our agenda is approving the minutes from, oh no, we don't have any minutes.
I did not have them at the time of application.
Okay, so we don't have any minutes to approve. Okay, moving on. Well, Aaron isn't here yet, so we will go ahead to talk about the variance for Tractor Supply on their parking lot. And where do we want to go first with that? Discussion?
Sure. We have Mr. Bonham here from representing
Hi.
Tractor Supply, if you wanted to give kind of a...
Overview a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. The microphone would work good.
What the plans are and...
How many spots are we losing? It's in here, but.
My name's Don Bonham. I'm from Mahomet, Illinois. So we've done probably 40 Tractor Supplies. So we're a preferred developer for them here in the Midwest. Just a quick overview. We've done, I think, 7 buildings just exactly like this.
Oh.
So we've bought quite a few of those. So we're actually a developer that owns the buildings, and we'll be leasing back to Tractor Supply. Briefly, the reason we need the variance is we don't have enough room along what we call it the south side, but we'll say on the Teal side, to put that fenced outdoor display area in. So we're going to have to put it in the parking lot. So that's going to cut us short on the parking spaces. Basically, that's in a nutshell why we need it.
And what's the timeline for, like, if you were to get the variance and start developing, what's the timeline for having the store open?
What we'd like to do is, it's voted on October the 23rd. We'd like to close on it the 25th then on the property and actually start construction immediately. We'll turn it over to Tractor Supply right now. We have it scheduled to turn over February, the first week in February, and they'll open the first week in March. But we'll see if the weather cooperates with us. So.
All right, and then the reason for the variance is because of you have to reduce the amount of parking to get the
fenced outdoor display area is what they call it, yes. Yes.
Any questions for?
Is there any more room to the north side of that property, or is that pretty much?
I think we only have 22 feet there between that and the Legion.
Legion.
And Jennifer, I think you and Brad looked at it, and in terms of their plans, there's no other...
No, they meet the setbacks. The other item that we did bring to Don was the direct access to fire suppression, the direct connect. The direct connect right now is, if you look at this colored sheet of paper, the direct connect lies right here for fire capability, fire truck capability.
Legion side.
And according to building code, it has to be direct access. So going through a fenced outdoor storage would not be direct access. So according to Don and his crew, when they redo the interior remodel of the building, they're going to be removing this direct access over to here. So it's closer to the front entry. So it will be direct access when those trucks are on site.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That was the biggest thing. The other thing was parking.
The 8-foot fence, which is a permit.
Yeah, the 8-foot fence is fine. We can do placement permits for 7 feet and under. The 8-foot fence is just going to need a building permit. So they'll need to apply for that when they go through their building permit process. They still need to go through a building permit to remodel the interior of the store. They need to meet all state building code requirements. The type of business they want is permitted in C2. Just to note, they are closing off that we would call it the east access off of Deepman Drive. So the only access they'll have will be right across from what we call now the Teals entrance. So just so you know that, they'll only have the one access. They meet the handicap accessibility parking stalls.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Comments? then we're ready to go through the finding of facts worksheet.
Do you want to read,
Oh, yeah, excuse me. I forgot. Sean sent out an email that he wanted read, and I don't know if you all got it or not, but
I have not. He only sent it to us.
he only sent it to us.
and I just gave you the copy because you're going to read it out loud anyway.
Right, okay. Good afternoon, all. I cannot make tonight's planning meeting because I have personal obligations. However, I would urge the planning board to approve the variance for Tractor Supply Company. First and foremost, I continue to maintain that parking restrictions such as those that we have in place in Painesville can have a negative impact, both economically and environmentally. As we see from the need of for this variance, the restrictions are creating a hindrance for business growth in Painesville in an area replete with space to park a car. Additionally, these requirements drive vehicle-centric conditions and lead to the creation of vast parking lots that take up otherwise usable land or green space, create water runoff concerns, and create an incentive for people to drive instead of walk or use other methods of transportation. Regarding this specific application, I believe strict enforcement of the ordinance would create an undue hardship, as it would make it impossible for a business to effectively operate in this space and parcel of land. It would be incredibly impractical to shrink the footprint of the building in order to fit more parking spaces and limit the potential for other businesses to operate in this space. This variance is also unique to the conditions of the property, as this property is situated between two already developed properties and a highway. It is my understanding that talks to share property to the south have not been fruitful. As such, the property is landlocked. There is not enough room for the landowner to build out additional parking spaces without running into setback issues, thus forcing another variance request. Tractor Supply Company proposes using a building that has sat vacant for far too many years. Their proposal will bring economic development to the city while maintaining an operation that fits with the purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan. We should not allow a few parking spaces to stand in the way of economic growth and partnership. I urge the planning board to recommend the variance be granted and look forward to removing parking restrictions from our zoning ordinance in general. Thank you, Mayor Sean Ranke.
The other couple things that we did talk about was that the outdoor fenced-in area that is yellow, the large yellow spot, you'll see that their gate opens to Diekman Drive. There is no loading or unloading allowed on Diekman Drive. So, and they're aware of that. So
It's
they're
just
not,
a gate to drive
yeah,
through.
to bring stuff in and unload cargo inside, but they're not using that as, they're not using the public road as their loading area.
Okay,
And I think that was it. They're gonna use the same pylon sign that's there. They're just gonna change out the face. There will be a temporary fence, or excuse me, a tent on site during the flower season, kind of like what Teals does. They put flowers under the tent. But otherwise, everything else appears to be fine.
okay. If there's nothing more, then we will go through our findings of facts worksheet. And I'm not gonna read the whole beginning part. Jennifer says it's not necessary, probably. So whereas the parcel in question was last used as a retail store that has been vacant for some time, and whereas the applicant proposes to meet all zoning requirements, all setbacks, and the like, but is seeking a variance from the parking space requirements from City Code Chapter 36, Section 36-5. And whereas the Planning Board has reviewed the request for variance and concludes based on the facts presented, strict enforcement of the zoning ordinance would impose an undue hardship or would not impose an undue hardship. Starting with Josh, A or B?
It would impose an undue hardship.
Okay. Jacob?
A.
Okay, and- okay, that's because,
Don't forget.
because we get in trouble if we don't answer every question. Because,
Wouldn't be able to operate his business as effectively.
okay, Thank you. Okay. Number 2. An undue hardship as used in connection with the granting or denial of a variance means the property in question cannot be put to a reasonable use under the conditions allowed by the zoning ordinance. Economic considerations alone do not constitute an undue hardship if a reasonable use of the property exists under the terms. The owner's use of the property would be
Be reasonable?
B,
reasonable.
Because.
provide economic growth for the city.
Thank you. Takes me a minute, I don't take shorthand.
Neither.
Jennifer does. The landowner's need for a variance is due to circumstances unique to the property and not caused by the landowners, or is not due to the circumstances unique to the property, or is due to circumstances which were caused by the landowner. I assume A,
A as well, yeah.
Because.
oh yeah, number because.
He has no more land to the,
Oh, he's landlocked. The variance if granted will not alter the essential character of the locality or will alter the essential character of the locality.
A,
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 Randy? Because,
already existing business.
yeah, I was gonna say they're not changing the building. Okay. And if the variance is granted, will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan, or will not be in purpose, the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan.
A,
Okay, A. Because,
the zone will remain the same
yep,
as it is and aligns with the comprehensive plan.
okay, and the last one is, oh, that's easy. Therefore, based on the foregoing, the planning board recommends that the request for the variance be granted or denied, granted.
Correct.
Okay,
Can you just do a formal motion on that?
yep. Somebody want to make that motion that we grant the variance request and recommend to council?
I'll make that motion.
No, second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that passed.
Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see you at your council meeting.
Oh, yeah, you will?
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I have a moment here, just based
Yes.
on the findings of fact, nothing to do with Tractor Supply, so that's okay. Just going through, being that we had to go through the because, going through the certain things that we had to go through.
Yeah.
I just ask that the council maybe can look at this more and now we have an understanding based on our findings. It looks like the last application we had, I almost felt ridiculed and discounted based on our findings that we had. Even Jean was put on the spot to kind of explain when we certainly met as a group and we decided what that was based on the public hearing that was granted. So I just asked that the council look at these findings. We filled out the reasoning behind it. Tarek wrote it down. I'm guessing he's taking the minutes tonight. So that would be presented to the council. I just feel that hopefully our work here, and I encourage Josh and Randy, if you haven't watched the council meeting of August 28th, that's when the council approved their last recommendation. Like I said, felt like we were discounted and it just kind of made our work look very like why are we here type of thing. So I just ask that the council take this in light and Don being here in the sake of economic growth, to make sure we kind of keep things rolling forward and not hindering anything that we're doing. So thank you for
that.
Appreciate those comments.
Thank
So
you.
should I come better prepared?
Yeah. No,
Nothing on you, Don.
no,
Just
it
the process.
has to do with, yeah, the process.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
And just like a comment on Jacob's comment.
Yes.
So the report and recommendation that you fill out tonight, that you go through, that is actually presented to council. And so the yays and the nays and the yeses and the nos and those comments do go to council. So whatever findings you make, they are presented to council.
And the reasoning behind, a certain few ones that they had, I guess everyone, we had a description and reasoning why, so they should be able to view it at that point.
They just didn't agree with us, did they, Jacob?
And that's okay, I'm just saying the process,
Yep,
like
yeah.
I said, it felt like we were discounted. And all the findings that we had the public hearing, went through the process, and they questioned every single one. And like I said, Gene was on the spot, and I know that was a tough spot for you to even be able to present that, because we went through it, the minutes were taken, and the work was done, so that's all I have to say.
Okay. Now, we will look at the concept plan for you guys. Aaron, you want to explain to us what you want to do? Or what we're planning to do?
Good evening, and thanks for having me here tonight.
Can you state your name?
My name is Aaron Kranz, resident here, Paynesville. I guess I was asked to come tonight just in case you had some questions for me, but I had submitted an application for a split on a lot that we have off of Highway 55 here, the old Flagpole Country Business, which is now Flagpole Farm. So we're looking to split it, and we've went through the process. I've read the necessary documents, sent my application in, and I guess I'm here for any questions that you might have for me. We have a preliminary plat underway. There has been a survey that has been done on it. I have those documents. I think I emailed Jennifer those. She has them. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to see them or not, but
The legal description, yeah.
correct, yeah.
So when Aaron talks about splitting, so you'll see on this right here.
Right.
This first triangle piece is his, and he wants to split that off into 2 parcels. But to split unplatted land in the city, you have to plat it. So
Okay.
it's not just a simple lot split, he has to plat it. We don't split meets and bounds. So what he's really gonna do is, if you look at this sheet, he is going to make a line between his building and that cement pad area. So that becomes a viable lot to be used to develop and sell off.
Well, it's basically empty. I mean, that's all just been sitting there for a long, long time. Isn't there a
Correct.
cement slab there? or something?
Yes, you're aware where it is, yes, and it's been sitting there with nothing, like Jacob says, economic activity. It'd be nice to have something there, and
Oh, absolutely.
there are some plans in the future of something that may or may not go in there, and I don't know how much I'm at liberty to really discuss that, but we'd like to get it split and have this process done.
Yep.
Whether said business makes a go of it, or if it's another business.
How big will this other lot be then? Is it like,
It's 0.86 acres.
okay.
So yeah, to put a footprint of a building there, a retail, or is it C2, I think, right? Is that
Yeah,
zoning?
so there will be, right now, that whole parcel is C2. They would remain C2, so we don't
Yep.
have to do the rezoning.
Right.
And Aaron and I and Brad have all talked about the proposed business going in there, what that may look like, and also that footprint and how that may lay out on that lot. But if that proposed business doesn't follow through, any future business that could go in there, they have to think about how that's going to lay out, the square footage of the building to meet the setbacks and
Yep.
also meet the parking. So they're very, very well aware of that.
Okay.
The proposed business, those people that are looking at that are fully aware of the footages they need to meet. So that's going to depict where that line sits, and this is, they looked at that, they researched it, and now they've come up where this is where the line is going to be. So that both current business and future business can meet the setbacks, the lot coverage, things like that. The biggest thing about the concept plan, it gives him an opportunity to present it without not a ton of money and time spent, because the next phase is going to be a little bit more in depth. We're asking them to lay out the buildings with the footages. We're asking for an actual preliminary plat to pay the fee to submit the plat. We're going to hold a public hearing. So this is where the city says, hey, this is a good idea, or we don't really like this idea. Let's make some tweaks, because we don't want to get to the final plat and we're all like, no, this is a bad idea, because then he's already got all that time and money spent. This is a time where there's open conversation, and this is where he can say, yeah, I want to go forward, or oh, maybe I should put the brakes on.
Wasn't that split right where he wants to split it? That used to be the cat house,
Correct.
you know, so
There was a standing business there at one time before the fire took it down. Yeah, and,
It was before my time. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Randy and I do.
I don't know. I don't know what the cat house is.
I heard stories.
John's
of
Cat
it.
House.
Was it a restaurant?
No, it was a snowmobile
Snowmobile
motorcycle
dealership.
shop.
Oh, okay.
so
Art Cat.
then that used to be split right there.
Yeah, I don't think the property was actually split. I think it was still it was all one property, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one parcel, I think.
To John
That was
Listman.
that. Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, there's good access. We looked at all the setbacks, and it's very feasible for, you know, the said business to be able to go in there and operate, you know, with
They will need to work with Chuck and Ron regarding water retention, that type of thing. They're well aware of that. They are going to need a road access certificate from MnDOT, because they do have a direct access off of 55. That's typically done through Chuck. So, you know, when we get through that preliminary plat stage, it'll go to the county for review. They have 30 days to review it. Everything from the plat name to size of the lots, make sure they have access, all that.
Lots of steps to go.
Yeah, and then I know he's gonna have, part of the preliminary plat will also show us the layout of the setbacks and the parking on both of those lots. So we have a little bit more of a visual on what those properties would look like.
So the current cement pad that's there would not meet the current setbacks if they would use existing?
Well, the cement pad itself doesn't really have a setback, because you can build, you know, a cement slab just about up to the property line. So I believe the cement slab will be removed. They've put in a new foundation, you know, to construct a new business, and then they would either have asphalt or concrete or gravel parking. They would need enough area to suffice the parking requirements for that type of business. And even if it's gravel, you can still count out the footages for parking spaces, so.
Anybody have any more questions or comments or?
Again, it's good to see economic growth potential coming in. And like you said, this lot's been vacant for some time. It's good to be able to take this time to split it and do what's right, and see if anyone's wanting to come through. So I would make a motion to approve the Joshua Flats plat concept plan and recommend such to City Council.
Nice, that.
Randy seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll send it to council to approve.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Thanks, Erin.
And all we have left are the building reports, and that's it.
So it is that time of year where everybody wants to build now. Everybody wants to get all their little projects done now. It has been busy in the zoning and building. You'll notice we still have a couple 2020 permits. It's by the same owner. We have been in contact with him. My goal is that will not be on the books at the end of the year.
I'm thinking the same thing.
So there, you know, we've had a slow year. We do not have the big permit numbers. I think we're at, I think it says on here how many permits, like 99. We're over 100 now since I printed this, but You know, usually we run about 150, so that tells you a little bit about the economics that we just have. Everything it costs more, labor is more. We have a ton of contractors in our community, but they are busy. So wherever they're busy at, they're busy. So your project might get delayed just because if you want that certain contractor. Otherwise, that's kind of the skinny on that. The next meeting, remember we moved it because Jean is not available. So that will be Tuesday, October 24th. I do not have anything for that meeting unless the preliminary plat is ready by then.
Well, gives you an extra week. You never know what might happen.
Yeah, so the preliminary plat, you know, we would be setting a public hearing and going through that process. So, and platting typically takes about 6 months.
Yeah. So they wouldn't be doing anything till spring anyway.
Correct. Yes, they are not, the proposed business has no intention of breaking ground this fall. They just won't make it.
Okay. Is there anything else for this meeting? If not, we are adjourned.
Okay.